Okay. Welcome to the Airport Advisory Commission meeting of February the 28th. Pledge of Allegiance is already done. Roll call, please.
Chairman Machado.
Here.
Commissioner Judd.
Here.
Scatini.
Here.
Meyer.
Here.
Sunseri.
Here.
Martinez.
Here.
I am here, and I've noted that Commissioner Houston is absent.
Verification of agenda posting.
The agenda for the Airport Advisory Commission of the City of Hollister regular meeting of February 28th, 2018 was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on February 15th at 10 a.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you. Consent approval of the minutes of the Advisory Commission meeting of January the 24th, 2018. Any questions or omissions or entertain a motion to approve?
I'll move we approve the minutes.
I second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Public input. Is there anybody in the audience who would like to address the commission? And the answer is no. Thank you. Reports. Airport Improvement Program Rehabilitation Runway 1331 Phase 1.
So we received approval from the FAA for the project just this afternoon. So that's a very good thing. So we are having our pre-construction meeting on Thursday, March 8th. And then we're going to give them the notice to proceed for the March 16th. And we expect phase 0 through phase 1 to take place from March 17th to April 27th. So from about April 13th through April 27th, the runway will be closed. 1331 will be closed, 24 will be open. That's going to move a little bit either way, but that's pretty rock solid dates. Well, actually, it can only move earlier. It can't move later because the runway's got to be open by May 1 for CAL FIRE. The dates are from March 17th till April 27th. They'll be working. The runway will be closed for a 2-week period, probably starting around April 13th.
Any questions of the commission? Any questions? Old business, flagpole picnic area.
So that area is coming along. Some of you may have noticed that we added a few extra posts in the back and built a wall between them. Looking at the shade that was going to be created by that, I didn't think it was sufficient. So that was to give us a few more areas to put some more shade up. Shades are being manufactured by Rose Upholstery down the street, and hopefully they'll be done by the end of the month. That wall we're going to turn into a pretty neat little feature. I don't want to spill the beans, so it'll be a pretty neat little feature. And all in all, things are coming along well. We're getting ready to pour the cement pedestal for the plaques. The form is just about done being built. We're building it in the shop, not on site. The weather's going to set us back here for the rest of the week, so we won't be out there working on it. But the hope is that the week after, we have to do some asphalt over by Dean's Hangar next week if the weather permits, and then we will pour that pedestal concrete right on the other side of the flagpole. If you look at the flagpole, there's a piece of plywood on the ground. That's where we dug out for the footing for it. So that's where we'll go. So to read the plaques, you're going to be in the picnic area looking at the flagpole and the airport, not in the middle of the road looking at the whole thing. So I think we have 2 more.
So when is the estimated day of completion?
Still shooting for dedication on Memorial Day.
Memorial Day,
Yes,
the end of May?
end of May. I got 2 scouts that need to getting gear on their scout projects of building the planters, and I'm pushing them to get that going. So,
Any other questions of the commission?
You will contact us if you need
The commission.
stuff.
The commission was the question. Okay. New business. AIP, Airport Improvement Program.
so the airport improvement program was approved by council, and it's been incorporated into the CIP program. Just yesterday, I presented the CIP, my planned CIP projects, to the city manager and the finance director for approval, and all the airport projects got approved. So for the next 4 years, those projects are. This year, we're doing the design and environmental work on the parallel taxiway. Taxiway K, it runs parallel to Alpha, but on the other side of the airport. We are doing construction the next year. The next year after that, we're doing design and environmental for taxiway lighting on Alpha and Charlie. And then construction the next year after that. And that's about $6 million in projects.
Question.
Yes,
We're doing lighting for Charlie and Alpha.
yes.
What about Kilo?
That's coming. I think we're putting that in when we build it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I have a question. Any lizard problems?
I'm sorry?
Any environmental lizard problems?
We just got the report on the imaginary salamanders, and it correctly notes that they're imaginary. I guess somebody has a new pond within so many feet of us that's causing some additional concern, but no salamanders were found in the taxiway project area. But we will need to have biologists come out and dig up some holes over by Dean's Hangar, because the portion of the project that realigns the end of 6, they want that biologically cleared of salamanders. So to do that, any hole bigger than a quarter, a biologist has to dig that tunnel all the way back to its point of origin. So,
Maybe they're hiding out in the hangar.
Well, if they find salamanders, what happens then?
all kinds of issues
Mitigate them.
if that happens. Projects stop.
Oh,
Fish and Wildlife get consulted, both at the state level and the federal level. And talk to Watsonville about what happens if you have an endangered species on your airport. It's set them back, I want to say 20 years on a taxiway project.
And how much money?
Oh,
tons.
yes, exactly.
Any other questions on AIP? Okay, budget.
So, April's Fools, that budget we went through last time meant nothing. So I had anticipated what the instructions on budget were going to be, but then we had the meeting after I presented it to you, and we received the real instructions on the budget from the city manager. And for a surprise for all of us, he's decided that we're going to do a 2-year budget this time around. So I have spent the last 3 weeks doing 16 budgets, of which this is 2 of them. So we have to go back through all this stuff again. There was also an additional wrinkle. California State Air people have decided to regulate off-road construction equipment. So backhoes, bobcats, paving equipment, the big construction forklifts, loaders, bulldozers, All that is now being regulated by the state. And the way it's being regulated, in fact, our tractors, the tractor at the airport also is under regulation now. The way they do it is by the age of the diesel motor is a certain tier. They call it tier 0 through tier 4. Currently, if you buy a new diesel motor, it's a tier 4 diesel engine. So right off the bat, tier 0 and tier 1s have to go out the door. We actually have 3 years to pull this off, but tier 1 and tier 0s we have to stop using. Out of 18 pieces of heavy equipment the city owns, 14 of them are tier 1.
This is for air pollution?
Yeah. 2 of them are tier 0. The backhoe at the airport is a tier 0, and the loader out at the domestic wastewater treatment plant is a tier 0. So the airport backhoe has to go, and it's going to go. This, as part of doing this through all the budgets, I'm recommending that we replace the tier 1 backhoe that the water department uses because it's worn out and needs to be replaced. Their current backhoe is a tier 1, but there is a program where you can keep it if you don't use it more than 200 hours in a year, and the intention is to send that backhoe to the airport. The pieces of equipment that affect the airport that need to be replaced are the skip loader and the Bobcat. Both pieces of equipment get used at the airport quite often. So in the budget is now a portion of the replacement cost of both of those items. The good news is on that, those items were also selected. They are eligible for, and they were selected by staff. I'm taking it to council on the 5th to get permission to apply for a 65% grant to pay 65% of both of those pieces of equipment. So we would be paying a portion of the 35% left over. So it's not we're not talking huge amounts of money because our percentage is like 10% on those pieces of equipment. The other piece of equipment in here is a new piece of equipment, and it is a line, what is it called? A line hog, so it uses water blaster technology to actually remove the markings at the airport, or to clean the markings at the airport. So we have a need for that for the city because we're using thermoplastic markings now that last 7 years, but they get dirty. And so having a device that we can go clean them with would be a good thing. Same goes for the airport. We'll have to put down less paint if we can go clean the rubber off the paint that's there and maintain the paint. So the airport is paying a higher percentage of that piece of equipment. The total price of all 3 pieces of these equipments is going to affect the airport up to $90,000 next budget. But it will be reduced if council approves the grant and we get 65% grant on those items. I can get you exact numbers on that if you want to do that. If you want to follow up with me offline. I don't have a breakout on that equipment in tonight's budget. I don't know why, but the notes did not print.
Is that 65% of the 90?
I'm sorry?
If you get the grant, is it 65% of the 90?
No. So, for example, let's take the Bobcat. It's about $80,000 to replace the Bobcat. The airport's component of that is $8,000. So it'd be 65% of the $8,000. So
I like my figures better.
I know you did. Sorry.
Would they be able to sell this equipment to other states that don't have all this environmental stuff?
Yeah, that's probably the worst thing about this whole thing. They killed the secondary market for our equipment now. Yeah, that is the only market is out of state. So, yeah, it's a mess.
Be
But
some
the cost
bargains
of
for this.
freight and
Well, we did just sell 2 sweepers and North Carolina bought them. So we're going to have to figure out a way to limit the auction site to only out-of-state buyers.
Is this air pollution from the engines?
Yes.
So how about, being a little bit naive, how about airplanes? How about the generators out there? Emergency generators?
Well, the emergency generators are regulated already. We have to buy a permit for every one of them. They're only allowed to run so many hours a year. Did you say airplanes?
Airplanes, yeah.
Well, they've been after avgas for how long now?
Well, most aircraft are not diesel.
I
So-
understand that, but they are attacking avgas,
Yeah.
so they're there.
Yeah, Dean took it personal, I think.
So if you'd like to go through the budget, why don't you pull up the budget that says for fiscal 2017, 2018 up in the upper right corner? We'll go through that one first. And we're looking at the far right corner where it says 1819. Everybody with me? Okay. So if you notice, next year the federal grant's 430,109. And then if you come down a little bit, you see transfers in where it says 43,000. That's our 10% match. That's coming from the airport fund 601 for a total revenue of 473,109. And then the bottom line you see is professional services 473,109. That's where it gets expended to pay for the design and environmental work for taxiway. I'm not going to go through all the airport revenues line by line. If you see something you have a question on, say it. But I'll give you the bottom line, which is our projected revenues next year are $1,041,340. That's at the top of page 4. And that's up $100,000 from this year.
What's the difference?
Probably grants, because we,
100,000? Did you say 100,000 is a difference?
there is a difference of 100,000, yeah. This year our revenue is projected at 940, and next year it's 1 million.
What's the main increase?
A building that was built over on the far side of the airport. That ruined Dean's view. Oh,
What are we mumbling about out there?
oh,
What?
well, we can fix that.
What?
Page
Fix
3?
what?
I misspelled Bickle's name.
Oh,
Mr. Bickle sees that.
say something
It's
about
top of
page
the second, third page.
Yes. So I will get that fixed.
It starts with a B and,
three. No C, I think.
No C.
yeah, let's see.
So we good with all that? Good with revenues? Now let's spend it.
I see they're still carrying this gas fee for the total activities of 2016, 2017. That's an expense. Where did that show up?
I'm told they have to do it, but it never hits our fund.
It's just something they stick in there and then they cancel it out?
Exactly. I don't know. I don't get it either. Right below that is our overhead charge from the general fund of
Where
50.
are you?
I'm on page 4,
Page 4, in the middle. Other expenses.
middle. Non-departmental other expenses.
Okay.
So about $51,000 overhead charge, which is the same one it's always been. And then right below that, you see transfers out, 43,000. That's the matching funds going to 212. Then we go into 1157, which is computers, which totals 10,000. And then at the top of page 6, you'll see the engineering budget, which is $0. And then right below that, the airport budget starts. And I don't want to go line through line, but, personnel's 377,000.
None of that has changed. Right.
A little bit. And then services and supplies is going to be $253,800. Our contracts are $18,000.
What are you reading?
I'm on page 8 now. I'm just reading the bold lines.
Category 735.
Oh, it is busted out here. Okay, good. So then we'll come down to the capital section. I'm looking for $30,000 to do some work on some more buildings at the airport. And then if you go below that, you'll see machinery and equipment, $92,750. It's $7,500 for some shop tools for our shop and a new table saw. The table saw we are using is scary, really scary. And then 5% of the skip loader for $5,500. 5% for a janitorial van. We are considering taking over the janitorial contract. The likelihood of that happening is slim, but if it does, the airport would pay 5% of the vehicle, and we would pay a portion of the salaries of the janitor because they'll be coming out to service our building.
This would be the whole city doing this?
The whole city is doing it, so we kept the same breakout for the currently we contracted out. Not anybody's happy with the service. So we kept the same breakout and applied it to the costs. So our portion of the van would be $7,000. And then 20% of the water blaster comes out to be $69,000. And then 5% of the Bobcat is $37.50.
Water blasters misspelled.
That's for cleaning.
Oh, it's a German water blaster. That's for cleaning and removing the paint. So our total expenditures at the airport are $771. And then we have a little bit of money in vehicle maintenance to maintain our vehicles. And our grand total projected expenses for next year are $882,942. So we would have revenue of $158,000 that we will put in the special designated fund balances.
Looking at the personnel again, the retirement, is the city fully funded in the retirement?
I'm sorry,
In the retirement category, there's 29,000 or whatever it is.
29,000 activity.
Yeah.
46,000.
40
It's on page, I don't know.
Six.
Personnel.
Yeah, page
Page
six.
6. No, I guess what I was wondering about it, does that go into the retirement fund? Is the retirement fund for the city fully funded?
Yeah, we paid off all the side side debt on the police and fire retirement. So we no longer owe CalPERS any money.
Whoa, we gotta be one of the fewer cities that,
We are, I think, the only city.
that's the biggest, I think one of the biggest concerns in government today is, are they fully funded or not?
Every government employee is concerned about it.
Procrastinating, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Not only city, in all governments.
any specific questions about that budget? So if we go to the other one that says fiscal 18-19, you look at the top there, Fund 212, revenues for the federal grant are $3.5 million. And then if you go down to transfers in, you'll see $350,000 being transferred in. That's our 10% match for a grand total of $3.850 million for Fund 212. We did attempt to apply for state grant for their 5% of those matching funds, and we were told they have no money. Tony says, I don't care, I'm going to fill it out anyway and turn it in. So there's not a doubt in my mind it didn't get filled out and turned in. And then if you turn to page 2 at the top, you'll see improvements has $3.8 million being spent. And then revenues again for the airport. And the airport revenues are projected in year 2 to be $1,045,000. We just put a little 2% or 1% inflator on there to be conservative. And then we roll into computers, which is the same, $10,000. And then we roll into engineering, which is the same, $0. And then we roll into the airport. Personnel is the same. Services and supplies the same. Capital, I'm looking for an additional $30,000 to work on building 30 at the airport. Building 30 Airport Drive. For an airport total of $685 in expenditures. And then you see vehicle maintenance kicks a little bit of money in. And then this year, we're not going to have a surplus. This year, we actually go deficit of $60,000, and that's because of the matching fund for the grant exceeds our revenues by $60,000, but it's okay.
You're too fast for me. Back to rents and leases.
Oh,
How come we go 0 till we get to 18, then we get $1,800?
do what?
It says 0.
Oh, we had to zero out the previous, because we're trying to do 2 years ahead, we had to zero out the previous year to put in this year.
So we didn't receive anything the last couple of years?
No, we did. We will. The program is not designed to do 2 years of budgeting out.
Oh, okay.
So until 18's approved in the computer, it's not going to show up on the 19 budget because it hasn't been approved yet. So this is one of the deficiencies of doing 2 years of budgeting. But
That's silly, but anyway.
You know, what was the purpose of the airport manager, the city manager wanting 2 years? Any reason? He thinks he can get better control or something?
Well, he's a little concerned because 4 of the 5 council seats are up for reelection. So he's,
Oh, because you got 2 people that are resigned?
well, he's, yeah. He's not sure how, he wants a long learning curve for the budget for the new people coming in. So that's why. These aren't easy to do. And as soon as they get seated, they get hit with a full city budget, which is days and days and days. Right, Robbie? So we're trying to ease the new people into it so that they can not be overwhelmed.
They will anyway. Right?
There's no legal
that's
issue
a given.
involved
You ever
about
got burned on it and stuff?
basically an out of office council is approving a budget that's going
No.
well beyond their terms?
Happens all over the place. In fact, we're one of the few places that still only budget 1 year. Most cities are on 2-year budget cycles. It helps finance smooth out some of the bumps in their graphs.
So is this going to be a 2-year budget cycle, or is it just done every year, but you're going to look 2 years ahead?
I don't
Years
know.
out?
I don't know. So any questions about that budget? So that 60,000 that we're going to be deficit will come out of the reserve fund balance for projects.
From the previous year. And the previous year is over.
That's why we set them up. I guess I could tell you maybe how much is in there right now. I can. So currently there's $204,000 in there. So that 60,000 that we go deficit will come out of that 204,000. But that number's going to go up in the year previous to that deficit. So
If I understand, so this, of the 4 years of our AIP program, second year is the one that's the most expensive, is that right? Or
year 4 is pretty expensive too.
is it taxiway line?
But year 4 has not been funded by the FAA yet. We are only funded out 3 years by the FAA.
Yeah, but if they don't fund it, we probably won't do it.
Exactly. Because it's another 2-point-something million
Really?
project.
Oh, okay.
Has the use of the airport increased with the activity locally and in the general Bay Area, Gilroy, Morgan Hill?
Teresa would be the best to answer that, but I believe we've been busier than we were during the crash. So things are picking up.
I guess if you look at that, we went down pretty low, now we're coming back up.
That is correct. The hangars we had vacancies, and we don't have vacancies again. We're back to having a list. So,
Yeah, our base drop coming back up. I was thinking we were stable, now we're coming. Forget it.
and we added a business out there, so
Mhm.
they're pretty active.
Any other questions on the budget? Anybody want to donate?
Go over it again?
No. Okay, new business C, CAL FIRE update.
So we're working closely with Assemblywoman Caballero's office to put some pressure on them. We did receive notice from CAL FIRE that the governor did not budget for a fire station for CAL FIRE out at the airport. Surprise, surprise, don't believe they asked for one. Did find out that they built a $21 million fire station in Morgan Hill for CAL FIRE last year. So, which just happens to be the same amount of money it costs to do it at the airport. So we're in talks with them, and we're going to continue talking, and then we'll get whoever the victor of the next race is, we'll get them involved.
So CAL FIRE, did they lose a lot of money last year because of all the fires?
I believe the state lost money. I don't think CAL FIRE specifically lost any money.
No.
I don't think CAL FIRE is an organization that has any money. I mean, they're really a service provided by the state. So,
Yeah, but I mean, they got a budget every year too, so if you have.
oh,
a bad year-
I would imagine that blew their budget.
Yeah, so the
I think I heard the other day that they're asking for an additional $350 million for firefighting this year. I think I heard that on the news yesterday, maybe.
I guess what I'm asking, if they're trying to backfill from the status quo, you wouldn't have money left over to do something additional, like our facility. Being negative, maybe realistic.
Well, if you go in the governor's website and look at the projects, and you go to this CAL FIRE district and look at their projects that they're asking for, it's interesting.
Interesting, who's asking or who's getting paid or feels it?
What's being asked for and what's not being asked for.
How many voters?
Not voters, just what the priorities are for that organization.
Well,
Their priorities and our priorities do not align.
I would think if you had a bad year, you may want to beef up for the next year too.
I would think you get more bang for your buck out of an air tanker than you
Yeah.
would out of a fire engine.
Yeah.
Granted, they're hard to compare because they're two different tools for two different things. But I would think that for wildfire, you'd get a little more bang for your buck out of an air tanker than you would.
Yeah. Well, you'd cover more area too. You got, what, 19 counties?
Yeah.
So back to the air pollution, our vehicles aren't being looked at, motor vehicles. It's just
Well, sure.
construction equipment.
No. Our large diesel vehicles have had to all be retrofitted for hundreds of thousands of dollars years ago. This is just the next thing they're doing. Yeah, they look at everything.
So I guess where I was going with that is CAL FIRE has some pretty good sized semis. Of course, the bulldozers don't go anywhere; they stay in the truck. I wonder if they're being regulated.
They should be.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions on CAL FIRE? AWAS. Any issues?
So there's an issue with the AWAS, and I'm going to let Commissioner Judge explain it, because I think I got about 5% of it. It's something about the rain gauge not reporting in the same manner as it used to report.
Okay. So here a few months ago, we did replace the computer, the base station for the AWAS, because the old one went belly up and was unrepairable. So we now have a new one. We have probably 15, 20 years more modern than the old one. But when it comes to rain, the old one used to report, when I say report, so let me back up. the AWAS reports on the radio what's going on, but I don't think it actually reports rain on the radio. I don't think so. But it reports through a port on the base station, which gets sent to a service provider we have called AWAS, and then it gets they make it available on the internet, and they also send it to something that at least used to be called NADN, National Aviation Data Information Network, or something like that, and it becomes available to basically the world. Our current weather, and which includes rain. Now, it used to be, and it was supposed to be reported basically gets published every 20 minutes to the world. We actually send it to AWAS every 5 minutes, and it's available to be seen on their website every 5 minutes, but it gets sent to this NADN system every 20. So when it comes to rain is actually measured, I think, on a minute-by-minute basis, and it's accumulated. And it's accumulated throughout the hour up until 55 minutes after the hour. And then it resets to zero and is accumulated again over that next 60 minutes. The old station used to report to this NAWAS and consequently to the NADN the accumulated rain during the 20 minutes, the prior 20 minutes, whenever the report was given, so that we had a report at 15 minutes after the hour, 35 minutes after the hour, and 55 minutes after the hour. And 55 minutes of the hour was the total for that hour. And so if you looked at a station, you looked at what's being reported, you could kind of tell, was the rain coming early in the hour, or was it coming late in the hour, or spread throughout the hour. The current base station, this new and improved base station, only reports it out the port to the NAWAS and thus to the NADN system at 55 minutes past the hour. Why? The only thing I was able to get out of a customer service technician for our base station was, well, somebody sometime said that we shouldn't be issuing this information except once an hour. And I'll see what I can find out about it. And it never got back to me. But basically he says it's working the way the thing is designed. Now, I personally think that it ought to report the rain that's accumulated. I think it should work the way it used to. I mean, maybe others have an opinion about that. But to me, it's idiocy to actually restrict the information reported. There's no, as far as I can know, there is absolutely no downside to reporting the rain, every time you send out a report. And then the 55 minutes past the hour is the total for the hour. And that's that. But for some reason they didn't want to, they changed their mind, I guess. So I actually asked Mike if he'd talk to All Weather Inc., which is the manufacturer of our base station, and see if he couldn't find out what's going on and tell them we want it to work like the old one.
Does the system accumulate that every 10-minute data and does it give it? Or
the data is in the base station. It's actually accumulated on a minute-by-minute basis. So the data is in the base station.
So I guess what I'm asking, it accumulates the data but it's not presenting it.
Doesn't send it out through the port.
Correct, understood.
Previously it did it.
It did. Anytime it sent out a report of our weather, which includes winds and temperature and ceilings and
now
visibility.
it's going out once an hour.
The rain, accumulated rain, only goes out once an hour,
Right.
55 minutes past the hour.
We're going backwards.
Huh?
We're going backwards.
Well,
It's not as efficient.
Well, it's just, it's nuts. It's like, why not report it?
It was more accurate before.
It's not a question of, well, it's not exactly accuracy. It's the 55 minutes after the hour report is as accurate as always was.
Oh, yeah, yes.
But
that's nothing.
you get no report on rain any other time. So, which is nuts. No, I mean, I happen to be, a pilot who likes to look at these things, and if it's raining, and is it raining a lot? Did it rain earlier in the hour, later in the hour?
Is it sending it to somebody at all?
No, it keeps a record on a hard drive in the base station, but it doesn't send it out.
So is there no way that cares whether they get it in that intervals?
I'm sorry, what?
Is there any way that you send it, doesn't send it out to no agency? In the
Doesn't go outside
other than
the office there and down into airport.
Other than the hour?
The 55 minutes past the hour.
And nobody wants that data in between?
Yeah, I do.
No, but I mean, nobody worthwhile.
Thank you very much, Chairman.
I mean, somebody with power.
Well, where are you looking at this, whether the rain, it doesn't come over AWAS?
Yeah, it does. It comes out of the AWAS. The AWAS actually has a rain gauge, and it measures the amount of rain that we get.
It's an annoying rain gauge.
But
What?
It's an annoying rain gauge.
Well, you may not like it, but it does.
One little spider web screws the whole thing up.
But it does measure the rain, and
I've never heard that on AWAS, rain.
well, I don't think it's actually. I mean, I don't know honestly if it's ever. I don't listen to the radio all the time, but the AWAS radio. But I do look at what any AWAS reports, and they used to report, whatever the
Precipitation.
yeah.
Sounds
And now
like
there's no report until 55 minutes after the hour, and that's just one accumulated total.
Do you know if there's other systems within our county that have this? I guess what I'm asking is that you
So
must have weather stations or news things.
I've looked at other stations. I mean, there's 6,000 or 7,000 of them in the United States, and I haven't looked at all of them. But most, and of course, the only way to look at them is look at them when it's raining. So
Yeah, but I don't think that's what I'm asking. What I'm asking is that other facilities within our area pick up the rainfall in sequence like AWAS does. I just can't conceive that nobody in the weather business would
Really?
have access to AWAS at one time, or other systems that gives you accumulation to know like you say, in what part of that hour was the greatest or the smallest and all that. So if AWAS isn't doing it to the weather industry, is there another area that's doing it for them?
So it'd be interesting to know what Wattsville says, because Wattsville has an ASOS, not an AWAS.
well, maybe I can look. It's supposed to rain in the next couple 3 days. I'll take another look. But when I looked before, it's hard to look because we're not having any rain. So,
Right.
but
It needs a rain.
when I did look before, and I looked various places throughout the United States, I just picked random places, took a look. Some of them report every 5 minutes. Some of them report every 15 or 20 minutes, and include rain, cumulative rain. A few of them I ran across, probably they're ones that came from All Weather Inc., only reported 55 minutes past the hour. And and I've had a discussion with Dr. McCumber, who is one of the guys that runs or owns any AWAS, and he's kind of disgusted with All Weather Inc. because he thinks that they should be reporting it. There's a one or two documents you can read, and it's like every other government document. I guess you can interpret it to say it should only be reported 55 minutes after the hour. Personally, I interpret it when I read it, and I think when Dr. McCumber reads it, it's like they ought to report it every time they give a report, accumulated rainfall. But, so what I'm kind of asking, what I was really asking Mike, but we're maybe get some comments here too, is I think I'd like All Weather Inc., our AWAS manufacturer, to give us the reason why they're not doing it, to tell us, give us, cite their justification for changing and for not reporting accumulated rainfall for every report they spit out their port there. Why are they withholding that information? Because there's no technical reason that I know of to do that, to withhold it. It's also would be, it's just a software change to make it happen. What?
The system has to be programmed to do that. So
I know,
whether
and
do
they
it
deliberately
once an
programmed
hour
it not
or
to
4
do it.
times an hour, they should be able to make that alteration.
I know from a software standpoint, it's a nit. It's probably a, one-line change in their code. But, all I can say, like I say, I went as far as I could with their customer service, and he says that's the way it's designed. So at this point, it needs to be dealt with their marketing people. And so I was hoping to get a little weight behind it.
Who's in charge of the system, AWAS? The city?
Well,
Dean.
Mike, what? I'm the vocal,
We are.
I'm the activist about it, but no,
Well, I'm
it's
just
at the
thinking,
airport. The
why-
airport.
If the airport owns it, the city owns it, and pays for the system, why can't we demand it? It seems kind of odd to me in today's society where we have more data than ever, and here we are going backwards.
I agree.
Okay, Dean and I will make a phone call.
Tell them the commission,
I will let them know I have a fired up commission and they need to solve this problem.
well, I'll entertain a motion to,
Well,
Well,
I
I
don't
still,
know.
Pursue it
where do you
further.
get this
Yeah.
rain
Yeah,
information from
pursue it.
AWAS?
So the equipment that sits out there at the intersection
Right,
has a rain gauge,
right,
and that rain gauge accumulates rain
right.
every minute. Sends the information back
No, I'm
to.
saying, where are you reading the amount of rain that you,
Oh, where do I see this
Yeah.
information? I see it in two places. One is I can see it on the NEAWAS website, which I can show you.
okay.
Okay, and it goes into the NADN system, and then you can get a METAR.
Oh,
for-
Metar.
Yeah, METAR, whatever. You can get them at the ADDS, the ads thing for. So if you look up while it's raining, and if you ask for METARs for Hollister, you can get it for the last.
Only every hour, huh?
Well, you can get the METAR for every 20 minutes because the data comes out there every 20 minutes. But if you look at it over a period of, you ask for 6 hours worth or something, when it was raining during that time, you'll see that there's only a rain report for everyone that's 55 minutes past the hour. The ones in between, there's no rain report. It's because our base station doesn't send it to them. I mean, it's simple as that.
is it sending this to somewhere else, did you say?
Our AWAS.
or something?
Our AWAS sends the data to this company called NEAWAS, and they're back in Michigan, I guess, or something like that. I think they're in Michigan. And they have a website that shows the data for Hollister. They also then they take that data and they send it out into this system, which is it's a nationwide, I don't know, maybe worldwide, I don't know, but at least it's nationwide, where all this kind of data is accumulated.
Yeah, but I mean, is what they're sending to somebody else defined more than 55 minutes?
What?
Are they sending it to somebody else that's more defined than the 55 minutes?
Just-
You said they say every 10 minutes something, They used to do it.
Good.
The base station used to send accumulated rain with every report that it sent out on its port that went to any AWAS, and it would get presented.
But our system now sends it to nobody,
That's
other than the hourly or whatever.
55 minutes past the hour, it sends the total accumulated rain. But in between, there's nothing.
Right. Just Google this, METARS, and you'll see. all this
Yeah, no,
stuff.
yeah, but I just wondered if it is sent to somebody else and we're not getting it.
No, they're not, our station is not, I mean, I know,
We're not doing it to nobody.
no, I mean, it's,
All right.
that particular piece of equipment sits at our airport, and it sends out, the only thing it sends outside the airport, other than the radio information, is through this one port. It goes to any AWAS in Michigan. Michigan, in addition to presenting it on a website, sends it into this NADN system, which then is available to
Well,
all
it
kinds of
seems
people.
like the city of Hollister, the airport commission, I don't care where it comes from, the city, it's like you said, it's probably a one-line
Well, it's a simple fix. I mean,
simple fix that can be done for,
Yeah, we paid enough for that thing.
because somebody asked,
well,
or demanded, whatever the right word is.
yeah.
Anyway.
Well, anyway, I mean,
So Dean and I will make a
this is
phone call.
mostly just educational at this point.
If it doesn't rain, we don't have a problem.
Well, all I'm saying is going to come from the commission, somebody in the city, somebody can make a motion and, or.
Well, I think we can start with, Mike, and if he wants me, I can join him making a phone call.
Yeah.
And then if we get stonewalled or something, and then we can figure out where to go from there. And if we need the commission to say something, then we'll.
Picket signs.
Huh? Picket signs, yeah. I mean, it's just weird, that's
Where are they
all.
located?
All Weather Inc., they're
No,
in
with this-
Sacramento, I think.
Yeah.
This guy
They're
you're
in
talking about,
California.
Sacramento?
Actually, you know what? I have a piece of equipment that needs to go to Sacramento. Dean and I will drive up there.
Maybe, how big's the equipment? Maybe we can fly up
It's a
there.
trailer.
Oh,
A couple of questions.
Eris could fly us up there.
I have a couple of questions. One is, do we have an alternative if this particular system is not working for us? Do we have something like Watsonville, a system?
Well, we just invested $45,000 into this system, so
Understand,
I would
understand.
say no.
Okay.
They would not be
So really, we're stuck with
Prudent
this.
fiscal property, it would not be prudent fiscal
it's not such an
responsibility
issue that you'd want to spend a
to
lot of money on it.
spend
Okay,
that much
so,
money to
so
fix this issue.
then, Chairman, I think it is worthy to go and make, a request. And maybe even stronger language, saying, hey, we want to find out why this isn't coming out, X, amount of time, so that we could get it on a timely basis, because, if it pours, you want to know what your rate of rainfall is, right? You're coming in for a
I'd like
landing, you're going to be, you're going to be worried.
Well,
So why not? Then it becomes some sort of a hazard,
well,
safety issue.
I'm not trying to go that far, but, because, again, I don't think I'm not sure if it ever reports rain on the radio. Do you know? Does anybody?
I don't think it does.
I've
But the
never
question
heard
is,
it.
we're paying
Well,
for it,
But
right?
I bet, and this is a guess, but I bet on some of the higher end GPS devices that they don't, I bet you they link into this data on the backside and it may show on those.
Actually,
Well, anyway.
yeah. Yeah, that's a good point, because a lot of people get METARs in the air,
Exactly.
and they're, so you're right. I mean, somebody might be interested to know that it was actually raining 20 minutes ago.
So road trip, 8 a.m. tomorrow, be at South Street. You and I will head up to Sacramento. We'll drop off the trailer
Right.
and go knock on their door.
Uh-huh.
Coffee and donuts first.
You upgrade your system and you're getting less or something.
Well, I mean,
Well,
Okay.
in some ways, there were other improvements. It does actually use Windows and not DOS.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things
Is there a
that are better.
monthly expense? That was my last question.
Quarterly?
Okay, and how much is that?
Well,
Works out to be about 17,000 a year.
How much?
17 a year for the maintenance contract?
Really?
That's a good chunk of change.
So with that
Pretty
kind of a
sure.
maintenance contract, that's like,
okay,
yeah, they should come across with something.
so staff has direction, right? Right.
Staff has direction.
Okay, items for the next agenda.
10,000 a year, sorry.
That's better.
What do we want to take off the agenda?
I'd like to add the status of the restaurant again.
Okay,
Want to do that?
okay.
And then, whatever else. The AWAS issue?
Probably the budget can be taken off, I think.
Yeah, it can come off for a little while. There'll be nothing to report until July.
Other than that, those other ones are just continuous items that upgrade what's going on.
Okay?
Any action items for the agenda? None?
It's your
Okay.
road trip.
Well, they can always be added later, obviously.
Flagpole, the little area out there you mentioned earlier, you report on that.
Yeah, no, I should leave that's on the,
Yeah, that-
leave it on the agenda.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next meeting date is March the 28th.
That is true and correct.
Correct, okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
So let's move out.